to work. All right, cool. Got that. Sweet. So, all right, I will show my screen. And so our introductions that we had yesterday, name, organization, your favorite trash data set, and what would you like to learn or do today in this group. So I'm Win. I'm a PhD candidate at UC Riverside. My favorite trash data set, I said the literati data set yesterday because it's a really big data set that I haven't figured out how to utilize its full potential yet, but I think there's a lot of potential there. But I'll add on another data set, which is I have these this data set on a website that I have called OpenSpeccy, where people upload their spectroscopy data, and I just have like all of this unlabeled spectroscopy data, and I'm going to try to use semi-supervised machine learning to label all of the data and build like some really advanced AI thing, which I'm really excited about. And then what would I like to learn or do today in this group? I think I'd like to take away like a new path forward for envisioning how people find trash data today. So.
I can go next. My name's Melody. I'm sorry I'm not sharing video, such as all of you wonderful people, but I live on a mountaintop, and yeah, there's a lot of snow today, and I know that probably I'll blank out if I demanded that much from my Wi-Fi. So I don't have an organization. I'm a private citizen. I'm actually a fishery researcher. Cool. But I've been following water boards, partly for fishery work and partly, I live in a cannabis heavy region. So I've more been focusing on that. And this was a side seg. Oh, that looks interesting. I wonder what they're doing. So I don't have a favorite trash data set because I'm not a trash geek, but I was just curious what you're working on. And so I think today I might be switching between group 1 and group 3, because I'm just curious how you guys are working this. And that's it. I just wanted to see what you're doing. That's why I'm here.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll give briefly our kind of proposed timeline just for your own navigation. So we're going to be kind of starting off with reviewing briefly what we did yesterday, and then we're going to talk about our major findings from that. Then we're going to dig into some like really nitty-gritty details of trash databases and trash and hosting metadata for trash. And then we'll draft some conclusions together. So yeah, feel free to join in and out whenever you'd like. I'm not quite sure what the timeline for all of that will be, but that's kind of the milestones we're going to hit.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. I'll go next in introductions. I'm Gary Hare. I'm with Hammer Dirt, California, and my favorite data set, trash data set, would probably be the whole of Hammer Dirt in Switzerland and in California. I said yesterday it would be the one that I did in California, but it's not all that impressive. It requires a lot more work. I guess I just love trash data anyway. What would I hope to learn from the group today? Man, everything you guys got. This is fascinating stuff. So Hammer Dirt. No, Hammer Dirt. Yeah, not Hammer Jerk. Right on.
I was like, wait, is he harvesting hammerhead sharks and making beef jerky out of it? Because I do not approve of that.
No, that's Hammer Dirt. Right on.
Okay. I'd like to hear more about what that is later. If you can provide a web link, I'll look it up.
Absolutely.
I guess I'll go next. I'm Julie Hopper. I'm a postdoctoral teaching fellow at USC, teaching environmental studies and ecology. And I've always hated plastic. So I've just like been outraged at waste. And even when I was a little girl, I would yell at my dad for producing too much waste, and we would drive 30 minutes away to like a recycling center to recycle things. So sort of like a lifelong passion. I'm really passionate about the environment, and I like data. Probably not as good at coding as Win or other people maybe, but I'm pretty proficient with R. And I'm actually really excited we're going to work on a dashboard, because I hear that term thrown around all the time between tech industries. So like it's cool. I can be like, oh, now I know what it actually means to make a dashboard. So I'm really excited about this. My favorite trash data set, well, it used to be Heal the Bay, only because that's the one I was referenced to whenever I would run beach cleanups with my students. But then I saw Wynn's presentation, and so now I'm going to use the Sea Education Associations probably, just because it seems like it's more streamlined and easier to process from what I understand. And I guess I already did the last part. I'm really excited about this dashboardness thing. So yeah, cool.
I'll go next. I'm Martha Camacho Rodriguez, and I actively organize with a grassroots group called Social Eco Education LA. And we're just a bunch of people from different crosses of profession, moms, dads, grandmas, grandpas, tias. And this is my second day. I really enjoy the disaggregation of data, my interest in trash. So for myself, living in what we would call the corridor of contamination, I am a resident of Downey. And I like to mention that the LA Times and the New York Post wrote an article and said that we are considered the Mexican Beverly Hills of California. And so I thought it was funny, because when we think about affluence and we think about regions, if we're going to be, likened to Beverly Hills, one of the things I like to tell people when we're talking about environment and not just, what is considered a status place, is that our region is very plagued, at least where I live, with contamination. A lot of it is a result of trash. And so, for example, I would in the cities neighboring where we have a lot of industries that burn trash that cause pollution to our air. And then we have chrome plating agencies that emit chromium-6. Then we have the freeways. And then we do have a lot of landfills near us, and a huge contamination of water. So my interest in trash is, for me, it's circular. So although it may not be in the trash form, like, pizza boxes, styrofoam, plastics, we have that other stuff as well. And so I'm really excited about being a part of this dashboard. I'd like it to be normalized for people to be able to log in just like they log into their other social media apps, and that we can continue to educate people on how we're living. I myself am trying to change my new normal of not shopping and just recycling, like, for example, buying used instead of, having to continue to buy new, and, not continue to add to the trash that is affecting our environment. And what do I want to learn from today? Just normalizing a new way to spread, I guess, become the disciple to my community of, how we work on this trash issue. That's what I'd like to learn.
Thank you.
And I think I have to go. Hey everybody, I'm Lisa.
Right.
Yeah. Hey everybody, I'm Lisa. I am a data scientist at a company called IDEO. IDEO is a design consulting company, so I ask a lot of questions that are kind of design questions, if for context of where I'm coming from. I am new to the world of trash. I'm new to the world of trash, but interested in but kind of always kind of had this passing interest in environmentalism and trash, and I love data also. So I don't have a favorite trash data set, but after yesterday, maybe I'll say it is the Nielsen Trash Blindness Survey, because that's the one that I filled in the metadata for. So now it's the only one that I'm familiar with. I do think that survey is pretty cool. So definitely cool that the dashboard will make it available. And yeah, I just came to the group to learn more about the state of trash data and kind of, what are the challenges and issues with it, and who uses it and things like that. And I'm super excited to hear that Win made a dashboard last night. So I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, don't get your hopes up too much.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the whole story.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I'm sure it's great, especially for one night's work.
Thanks.
Dashboarding.
All right, cool. Sorry, there's a colleague of mine is trying to log into this event, and I need to really quickly give them the link because they didn't get it. So just one second. I'm sorry. Okay. Here we go. Okay, got it. All right, cool. Well, it's great to see many of you again today and hear about everybody else's thoughts. And so, yeah, so I'll go through kind of real brief, just a couple minutes on what we did yesterday to get us back to where we are today. So the first, by the way, I dropped a couple links in the chat. There was, let's see, 2 Google Drive links. The first one is for the data dashboard, which is here. And Julie, for you, you can make your own slide, just like each person has their name next to a slide on here. And then you can write notes for the day in here. And if people want to make like a new slide for their notes, it's just like any thoughts that you're having, any questions or ideas that come up. This is really an opportunity for us to brainstorm and kind of like think outside the box. And so kind of keeping track of all those outside the box ideas are going to be really important for us moving forward. Yeah, and if you want to make a new slide, if everybody wants to make a new slide for day 2, that's totally cool. I don't have like a whole new PowerPoint slideshow. So, and then the second one is this PowerPoint. So you can follow along and see some other things too that I'm going to kind of skip over. So yesterday we talked a little bit about the state of trash data. There's a lot of databases out there, and one of the main issues is that it's hard to navigate and find the data that's going to be useful for you because there's so many different groups collecting data in so many different ways. And so that was kind of the goal and idea of developing this dashboard, is that we create an environment for people to quickly find trash data that's relevant to them. And some questions that we proposed for this that we think are really critical to a lot of people that are looking for trash data is there data at a certain time, a certain location, about a certain substrate, about a certain ecosystem from certain organization types. And we all created accounts on the Trash Data Treasure Trove and started to develop some metadata, which would help us to tag all of the data sets that are on the Trash Data Treasure Trove. We learned a lot from that experience. We learned first and foremost that data that doesn't come with metadata is a big challenge to create metadata for. If you don't have already these kind of pieces of information, you have to like scroll the web and interpret it from the data, and it can be really messy. And so there were some questions, some really good ideas too about whether we should even be using this framework. There was some kind of limitations to how this framework was working for usability for people who aren't familiar with this type of database, and that it might just be a little bit too much, as well as questions about how we will actually mine the metadata off of the website using the API. How easy will that be? And I'll get into that because I tried it last night and this morning. Okay. So we did that, and then we were kind of thinking about the next step. How are we going to now get all of this metadata? So in the trash data treasure trove, which we went through and we kind of like tabulated these things here in this wiki. And there is a way to retrieve this data from the wiki, which I'll get into. And then we also tabulated some data into the tags. All right. And so we had our metadata fields here. We're kind of developing like a metadata schema together. And we had some new suggestions on metadata inputs that we should add, which I should make a note of. It was the it was from Lisa. It was whether the continuing is whether the data is continuing or not, like if it's still being collected, because the database isn't really updating nonstop on the OSF. On the OSF website. Okay. So, you know, I'm like, I think I set my kind of timeline a little bit like too extravagant for how much time we actually have together, because in reality we have like 6 hours together, which is not really enough time to fully create a dashboard or fully even tabulate, like, you know, I don't know, 10 data sets with metadata. It's a lot of work to do that kind of stuff. So anyways, so I think for today, a really good suggestion came from Lisa Nash to reconsider today's structure, not about like the real details of like how are we going to code this dashboard, but more about like starting with a use case. So let me see. So that moves us on to day 2. And the 3 things that we're going to do are, so we'll start out with a use case. We'll like define who's looking for trash data, and pick one type of person from the population of people who might be looking for trash data and might use a tool like this. And then I have this like prototype. Like I said, it's really bad, and I'll get into why it's really bad, because I ended up spending all my time trying to get the metadata to read in, and then I ran out of time. Then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like put something together on a slide so that we have something to discuss. It's not, yeah. Anyways, this is what I was hoping to do.
Is the metadata like hard to parse from a text file?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's all NoSQL, and so it's like unstructured, and you basically have to go on a treasure hunt to find the data, and then once you are able to retrieve the data, it comes in like a bunch of different formats. There's like a JSON format. There's a like text kind of format. So anyways, like each individual piece of information had to be parsed. And then because they're all non-structured, it was like, I was going to have to develop like a new really deep equation or really deep function to like grab any data set. I almost did it. I almost got it, but I just ran out of time. I like have all the code here. I can like pull up, I can like drill in all the way to basically the like getting the wiki content out.
But it gives like a JSON. It does give like, yeah. And if this is too detailed,
yeah,
I'm thinking it would be easier if you came up with like a metadata be easier if you came up with like a metadata structure and then used a JSON with like
Right.
that.
Yeah, I think it would just be, yeah, that was a learning that I had from this actually, is that maybe I should just have a CSV file that like I use to save all the metadata and post that on the website instead of trying to host it all on the individual components of OSF. And I'm actually starting to think maybe OSF, I should like bury that as much as possible so that that isn't like overwhelming when people get into OSF. Like they don't feel like, oh, whoa, what's this? It's a new database thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just you focus on the different dashboard.
Yeah, I think OSF definitely has like some advantages, but it's also like maybe not built to build a dashboard on top, or it like so the data doesn't come out. Like you're having to do a lot of parsing and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's not really built like a database. I was just trying to like hack it into one because it's free and open source.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, sorry, we're taking too many steps ahead. I'm getting all excited. All right, let's.
Yeah, sorry for jumping in. I just think that that's like an interesting problem.
Yeah, it is. So okay, so let's start off by talking about who's looking for trash data, who might use a dashboard to do so. You know, like how do we even go about looking for trash data? Is there a database out there already where you can go and do this? I think those are all kind of questions that we might have skipped over yesterday, but would have been good to start with.
I would imagine researcher for maybe a student or somebody running a municipality like I don't know, somebody concerned with trash getting into the waterways, and they got management questions about, say, water processing, or a I don't know what you would call it. Yeah, help me out on this. Right.
Water managers,
Yeah.
other science policy advisors, stuff like that.
Right.
Other ideas on people who might be looking for trash data, like the actual person who might go and acquire this data?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys had it on a slide of like undergraduates or graduate students working on thesis projects or, you know, even class projects.
I was thinking to add to that, possibly like lobbyists and policymakers to see, what kind of science, back data is available that they can. I hate to always come from a negative, that they would probably lobby against, or I don't know, just, people who get paid lots of money to write policies that sometimes don't protect our environment.
Yeah.
I've definitely worked with a couple nonprofits that are like looking for nearby data to their own sites or whatever. River keeper groups and beach cleanup people and.
Okay. Awesome. So these are great. Any others that people want to add?
I was gonna say I like the students and academics. One, because I think we have like expertise about that in the group.
Right.
So you guys are kind of that group and would be able to speak on like what's useful and what you might be looking for in a data set there.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Wait, Lisa, do you teach too?
Oh, no.
No, Lisa Watkins?
Oh, not me. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry I popped on late. I'm a PhD candidate at Cornell.
Okay, cool. Nice.
Sweet. All right. So yeah, I totally agree. I like starting with like we could start our use case with the people that we have in the room, or I guess the majority of are like kind of research experts of some type associated with education. Maybe we
I
could
wanted to
even
say,
like what's that?
city managers. City managers would be another one.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I also like the idea of starting with our use case as like this is an undergraduate, because it makes it more challenging to develop this dashboard into something that's going to be usable, I think, because you have to compromise with like the things being too complicated. So maybe that could be an undergraduate researcher looking for undergraduate thesis data. If that's cool, we can try out another case study too.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking about an undergraduate researcher looking for data to do like a thesis on, then you do make an assumption that if they're doing a data project, they are somewhat data savvy. Like they know how to
Right.
use
Yeah.
R and Excel. They're not like a social science major, trying to do a data project.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That was not any offense to social science. Sorry, I just realized that could have come off really wrong. And I'm just like, wait, social science people use data. I just meant like, yeah, I meant like humanities or like, like people that study history. That was like wrong. Sorry.
They probably have data too, but yeah, whatever. Anyways, so let's start out with the case study of an undergraduate researcher trying to find data for their undergraduate thesis. And maybe we could even specify a data set from one of our favorite data sets that are out there. Let's see, the literati data set. Maybe there's a couple of people who like that one. So they're looking for literati, but they don't know they're looking for literati. They're looking for something like literati. They have like some general idea of what they're looking for. They don't have. Otherwise, they just type in literati, they'd find it. So this is the dashboard. Like, suspend your disbelief for just a minute with me, because like I said, I spent all my time focusing on how to mine the data out of OSF, not enough time creating a UI, which might have been more effective use of my time if I would have done that, but that's all right. I generally know how UIs work. And hopefully this concept will kind of come across. And I'm hoping that this can be actually like a collaborative template. So if you don't have editing rights, let me see. Anyone can view. Maybe I'll change this link to edit, or should I do commenter? Maybe I should do commenter. That way it doesn't actually accidentally get deleted. Then I'll share this link with you again. So that way everybody can be on this and kind of like collaborating on this space to really think about it. Lisa, do you have suggestions for this workflow? Lisa Nash?
We're all gonna collaborate on
Yeah.
That seems cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you've like done the those Nero boards or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So I've heard those are really epic collaborative things, and so that's why I wanted to ask.
Are you? Yeah, you're not using a Miro board, right? You're using a Google Slide.
No. Yeah, just this Google Slide link.
Google Slides are also good. If we wanted to try Miro, I could probably make open one, but I think Google Slides probably.
Yeah, this will work. Okay. All right. So this is like my rough concept of, so people, they like, I'm imagining they type in trash data, and then this pops up as one of the Google search results, and it's the Trash Data Treasure Trove website. And on the website, there are these filter drop downs. So these are drop downs, like each of these here. I I should comment that this is a drop down. So this is a drop down. These first four are all drop downs, and they'll like, you can filter by ecosystem type, filter by substrate type, filter whether or not it's continuing. And then time range is kind of like it drops down and it shows like, you know, you can select your time, begin time and your end time. And then the location is maybe like a map that pops up. So when you click like, I want to filter by location, a map pops up and you can select like a point on a map, or you can select like a whole box area. I mean, that's open for discussion. And the idea is that, so as you're filtering, this is all like reactive. So as you're filtering, these kind of little thumbnail cards start to pop up that tell you information about the different data sets with those filtered values. So you can have, so like, for example, this might be like the literati data set, and then it has like a photo of literati or, you know, something, some icon from them. And then it has some information here. I've kind of written what I'm imagining the information would be in there. So you'd have like a URL of where to download the data. And this would actually, this is really important because this would point to the original source. Yesterday, something that came up a lot was like, why do we have this data on OSF when there's an original source that's already being updated? OSF is probably going to be either outdated, or maybe it's not going to have all the correct information or whatever. So it might be better to just point them like to literati.com, for example, instead of to the OSF website where I have some literati data. But then we could also have a backup on OSF. I'm thinking like as we're doing this, and I'll talk next too about like future kind of workflow of how this works. There'll be notes about the data set and how to cite the data set. The citation will also be on here. And then, so all the user has to do is just like click this icon or the link, and it'll take them to where they can get the data. And hopefully it's not, I guess some of the goals, like for this use case, I'm kind of thinking like questions that go through my mind, like, is this too overwhelming for an undergraduate? Is this too many buttons? Like, how could we make this more useful for them? Maybe it's even not enough to be able to drill down into literati specifically. And then another question that I have is, does this already exist? And maybe we could also spend some time thinking through, like, is this concept? Like, do we need to create this? Do we need to create this website? Or is there something out there that already does the exact same thing and that could be rapidly adapted for this?
I like where this is going. What this is making me think of is, I don't remember who shared data one yesterday, but I feel like that's a pretty, I think filters really well and points to original data sources and has like a cool map feature, which I'm just like thinking of as a corollary or as a good model or something. I had never heard of it before yesterday, but a good share.
Cool. Okay. Data one, query trash. Oh, nice. Look at that. It's even got like a map and you can be like, oh yeah, I like that region right there. Oh, that's cool.
I will say, like, couldn't find any things that I was really interested in. So I don't know how well it actually like works to find the data that you want, but.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. How did I come to the same conclusion as them without knowing about their thing? It looks really similar. It's even got like the filter drop downs over here.
Yeah, it looks exactly like your Google slide.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. This is sweet. I mean, maybe what I should invest my time in doing is just using data one. I don't know if this is like an open source. It looks like you can sign in and then I can upload data sets to here. Maybe even. I'm not sure. I gotta look into it. Thank you for
Yeah,
that.
the fact they have a Data 1 Plus kind of tells me that maybe if you actually want more access to something, you have to pay or something like that.
All right, let's see what
Yeah.
happens if I click this thing. Retrieving data sets. And then if I just want the data, give me the data.
Let's see what Data 1
What
Plus
happens?
is.
Oh yeah, it lets me download it. So
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I'm all about like not reinventing the wheel when I don't have to. So this is a really good resource. We could also ask the question of like, is this enough? We could interrogate this a little bit too. Like, is something like this going to actually support trash researchers? So what are the differences between this and, so if I think I can dual screen this thing over here, this and this. Oh, huh. Makes those comments like really big. Yeah, it's almost like not, you can't like see it. Oh, it's going reverse of what I would think it would do. Weird. If I click, okay, well that works. Cool. So now we can see side by side kind of what we're looking at. Trash data treasure trove versus data one. And we can kind of dive into what flags might be missing, even if those are even important. So ecosystem type, not sure. I don't know if this location thing, I don't think that's what that's doing. Annotation, no. Okay. Substrate type, no. So it's just like little tags, basically, that we want to be able to add on. But perhaps there's some other way to add on tags and I just don't know. Annotation, maybe that's it. Search for class. Oh, look at this. Measurement type. Huh, interesting. Okay, so there's like different types of, it seems like this is where they keep all the rest of their filter values in this annotation thing. It's kind of like an other, and you can like filter down. Cool, okay. So then you can create these different values too.
Yeah, I have a question about like when you're using this kind of, I guess like when you're using this kind of like website as a researcher and you're trying to find a data set that fits into whatever you're researching, it's kind of like, I guess, how would you use the one that's data one to find what you're looking for? Is like substrate really important a lot of the times? Is the geography really important? Like, is it the time, or does it depend on your research question?
It always depends on the research question, but I would say like substrate ecosystem almost always, like if you have any focus to your research besides just like, I want all the data, those are like pretty key kind of things that people will consider when they're trying to drill down.
Yeah,
I think anyways, yeah.
So those are like usually the places you would start for the data set search. Like when you're,
I think probably either, for me, it would be either like, I don't care where the trash is, whether it's like on city streets or in the water, but I do really care about like that it's in like New Jersey beach towns. Or I'm like, I don't really care where it is. I just need to know like any piece of data in water or on city streets or something.
Right.
So okay. For me, it's one of those two things.
And that's like substrate and geography.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just like, maybe it's for my own education, but like what's an example of like a research question you would be asking when you would go to the dashboard to look for data sets?
For me, my experience, I was like I would look for litter density in, say, the American River, lower American River watershed, which there really wasn't any. So so I started to establish a baseline of that and did surveys. But yeah, that's one question to start with, I guess. A body of water, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not saying we need to pick one, but I'm just curious because I'm like, what kind of questions do people who look at trash data answer? So.
Yeah, it's a lot about how much is out there. That's kind of the main thing with all like pollutants when you're studying them in the environment. And then it's like what types are out there.
Also, you want to identify trends or changes, timelines, and how they associate with weather events like rain or, say, holiday gatherings, where they have lots of people at, say, a park, and all the trash ends up in the creek that goes to the river. So, because you could look at all the surveys that I did at and the trash would correspond with events, and so you could clearly see there's a trend. So that's useful information to some people, I think.
Yeah.
They want to see easy to see charts and graphs and whatnot, so they could just grab a hold of that and put it in their report, I guess. I'm assuming, I don't know.
Cool. Yeah, sorry, I hope that wasn't too much of a aside.
I think that's good.
Have you seen datastudio.google.com?
No.
Seems like it might be potentially useful also.
Oh, I feel like I've heard about this.
Because it might be completely free, whereas the data one looks like if you want specific, like whatever with your dashboard, you have to like pay some sort of price.
Right. Huh. Data sources.
And they have a data range and properties menu button.
Is this, it almost seems like I'm just looking.
If you do the tutorial report, it'll show you more aspects of what you can do.
Yeah, it's kind of like a report and dashboarding tool, but I would say it's kind of for showing. Yeah, it's like reporting.
And not downloading.
Yeah, I don't know if that's really like a repository.
Okay.
A repository type tool, or like has the filtering functionality.
I see. So you can make like plots and stuff like that and kind of format them all together into one document.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
This is great. Okay. Cool. Any other sources that we should look at that kind of already have this structure that anybody can think of?
How are some of those other dashboards that you showed us yesterday that you had built? How are those structured?
They're like full stack web apps, their structure. So yeah, I'll pull up one of them.
You can go look at the Hammer Dirt, and maybe it'll work better than yesterday.
Yeah, I'll do that for sure. We'll let me see. I was gonna pull up the World Waste platform real quick, and then we'll do the Hammer Dirt. So yeah, the World Waste platform. This one, it's basically an interactive map here, and you have filter values up here where you can filter through different things. For some reason, it breaks when you click time. I don't know why, but anyways. So yeah, you can filter by like clean or unclean, hazardous, app. Now it wants to break when you click app too. Doesn't like that either. So anyways, yeah, the basic idea, if you're trying to find data, you literally zoom in and you I guess you could start by like filtering, but these filters aren't really very valuable. Like the time one is pretty good, but from my perspective, this isn't really going to help you drill into like questions that most people are asking. Like this trash point value is just saying whether or not the trash was removed at the time when it was documented. This one is about the source. So this is kind of like highlighting different sources of trash data. So like Let's Do a World Romania has data and it's all right there. You can like instantly kind of plot where it is. Which I think that could be useful. This is more of like a visualization tool than it is like a data acquisition tool. It's more for visualizing the data that does exist instead of like helping people find data. But it could be used for that if you wanted to. Like you would basically click a point, any point, and then it would say reported by Let's Do Romania. And then there would be links here that say who the data is collected by. And it seems like those links are not actually filtered in the same way that the data is, interestingly, because it's giving me a bunch of links. And those are not all the groups that collected that one data point. So I think it's like this one group here, Let's Do Romania. And then you would click that link. Hopefully it's not a dead link. And it'll go somewhere real that maybe the raw data exists there, or somebody that you can contact to get the raw data, maybe they are there.
Cool.
Okay, then we have the hammer. What was the website for your?
It's mwshovel.pythonanywhere.com.
All right, and then I click this link here.
Yeah, you can click on the if you want to go to the or hammerdirt.ch that's the link that takes you to. Yeah.
Okay.
And then if you click on the about and scroll down, close that one. Or yeah, you can close that menu, and then go over to hit the plus sign, and then hit the about right there, and you can see the tools. If you scroll down, the tools that we use on the right hand side there.
Wow, yeah, this is great. Yeah, Django.
And then we still have some work to do on our personal bio pictures and whatnot. Right.
Yeah. And then so if I wanted to find data, in this one, I would go to the litter dashboard.
Yeah, that's your litter data. And I think we were having some trouble yesterday getting that to work.
Yeah, we were.
If you look up something in Switzerland, you'll probably get a better result than my surveys in Rancho, but they're all there.
Is this a Switzerland?
Yeah, just click on something there and it should bring you to a map, I guess.
Okay, so I click submit.
See what we got. Nothing, yeah. I'll try it on mine. Probably have to log in, I think. I'm not sure.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah. Damn it. I should have had that all ready for you to go.
That's all good. Hey, Greg. So, cool. Yeah, that's no problem. If you're able to pull it up and demo it, I can let you share screen too or something. I don't know if you're on your phone today or. Oh, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm on it right now. I'm trying to get that going.
Cool. Sweet. So it sounds like there are some opportunities that we could already explore to build out basically the same exact thing. So far, it seems like the Data One catalog might be a good place to go to develop this dashboard or a similar thing, perhaps we could create some sort of search phrase in here that allows people to filter, only the stuff from this project, all at one location. I don't know a ton about, it seems like the data is being stored on this service, and I'm not sure what their restrictions are for like hosting other people's data on here. Like if some databases, some portals like this, you're only allowed to host your own data, and they don't want like any data that's like duplicated from other places. They each have their own kind of rules, how to, but I can dive more into that. I think the main thing that I got from this is that like definitely some opportunities to pursue, to develop something really similar to what I'm thinking here, without having to actually develop that. So that's good.
Or something to use as inspiration and
Right.
yeah, because I think it's important that I like your concepts of fair and open data too. I think are really important to this whole, especially the plastics topic. So I don't know if that's the case with Data One, but yeah, I think it's an important central feature of Stream.
Yeah, this is cool. Yeah, thank you. So, all right.
Yeah, I was just playing around on Data One. That seems really cool because you can like enter a search phrase and then it pulls up all the like a bunch of data sets.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how I searched like litter data for the US. I'm not really sure if these data sets are actually relevant to litter data in the US, but yeah. I feel like the functionality here is really neat.
Yeah. Yeah, do you think, so I guess like another kind of big picture question is like, is it useful to build a standalone like trash data hub compared to building a or just like kind of integrating in with something that's a little more general like this? What are the trade-offs there?
I mean, what are the trade-offs? I mean, I guess we could all brainstorm this, but I think like for me, one of the things about like looking, like I was saying, I feel like the functionality here looks kind of cool, but when I was doing the searches, I'm not sure it's like bringing up stuff that I actually think is relevant. So it might have something to do with kind of like whether this really fills the need that you think it needs to fill, and also since it's, if you want people to have like a trash only hub that they can come to, then it might be beneficial to build your own.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Because it's like if people are looking for trash, they're not necessarily going to know that it's here on Data One, and there are going to be a lot of other data sets to parse through that may or may not.
Yeah, I think adding on to that, I think that there's like a strong enough trash or plastics kind of movement right now that having its own thing, I think, would probably be used. I don't think that it would be like ignored. I think that it would be a useful resource. And also part of that, I think, is that it's possible then to make like a trash specific filtering terminology that's like really specific and tuned into only trash related papers and data sets. So I think there is a power in making it like really trash centric.
Yeah, I think it would also allow for like, depending on how much you want to work on it, like customization and development of things like, I don't know if it would be relevant here, but once I worked on this project that was about like medical liability insurance, and one of the things we did was in the search we implemented like a set of synonyms for different like medical terms and stuff like that, so that when people search they could kidney and renal are like medical terms. I don't know if there's anything like that in the trash world. But, depending on how fancy you would want to get with building and filtering and stuff, you could do some like cool functionality to make finding stuff easier.
Yeah.
Cool. If you one of the downsides of doing it yourself is that like you have to do it all yourself, and then like that's a lot of work and you might be responsible for it. So, a team would be cool.
Yeah. I'm really getting a lot more into GitHub. I feel like that's kind of the way to get like team collaboration along these things. Maybe that could be like the next Trash Datathon, is have like a GitHub team get together and hack some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Gary, did you want to share some stuff with us?
No, I mean, nothing that's impressive because my laptop has issues, but yeah, we're on GitHub too. So, I mean, you could look into that as well.
Cool.
Yeah. And, it's a learning curve for me because I'm learning like all these different disciplines at one time. And it's challenging sometimes.
It is. A lot of different languages people speak in the coding world too.
Yeah, Python's fun.
I haven't figured it out
yet. Yeah, you just need some time. A lot of it.
Yeah.
For me, it took a long time, but yeah, I'm still on it.
That's great. Cool. Okay, so I think we've kind of like pursued some additional ideas. It sounds like there's still interest in the utility of developing some sort of like trash focused database, and that because there's going to be unique functionality and unique terminology for trash that'll help people find what they're looking for a lot faster. I'm gonna make this big. I don't know why all of those things got super small.
Wynn, do me a favor. Go to the Hammer Dirt site again. Type in Rancho Cordova under cities, and then it'll pop up. The button will pop up that says Rancho Cordova, and you click on that button and hit submit.
Okay.
And it should bring something up. See if that works. Because what's going on is that I have a map display on the site, but my laptop is having issues with the displaying.
Yeah. So it's showing me that I can pan on this window, but there's no map. I don't see a map.
Yeah.
And I don't have any other icons for like zooming or anything like that.
Right.
So I don't think it's just over zoomed. Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to address that.
Never ending development.
I know, right?
Yeah. I just had somebody show me a whole new like style of CSV file. They're like, you say you upload CSVs, but your thing doesn't read this CSV. What's your problem? Like, I've never seen that type of file in my life. It's a really weird format. Everything's separated by like semicolons, like in the columns. Like, okay, I guess that's a different type. So anyways. Yeah. Cool. Well, this has been super great. So, all right. So thinking about like how we can, what like specific things we can do to cater to trash people. Like, is this enough here? We have these filter values. Like, does this get us where we need to go? Does this help our undergraduate student that is trying to find the literati data set find it?
One thing I was thinking about, I put a couple comments on the terms themselves, but one potential additional filter value, which I'm not quite sure how you'll do it, is sometimes I have students that are like interested in a specific species or like group of species, like sharks or seals or otters. And so like if you actually had like an organism filter that could then map where those organisms are located around the world, and then co-map the plastic data or the trash data that's overlays on top of those organisms, you could look at the effect of trash on those organisms potentially, which would be really, really rad. But it might take some jiggling.
Rad. That's awesome.
I bet Martha is totally with you on that too, because Martha has been talking a lot about how trash is related to all the other pollutants that are out there too. And I can see value in also mapping, you know, the
other things too. Yeah,
climate
like the
variability or
tube effects, sludge worms, because they'll be the only organism in a discharge in an outfall near an outfall pipe that's got sewage issues. So there's no other creatures that you can like test. They're the only ones alive there. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it'd be really cool if you could somehow do all that.
Yeah, one thing I wonder about that kind of thing is I feel like there are probably a lot of different like filters and things like that you can add, and I'm wondering if it's possible to do some kind of like search of the descriptions of things, because like usually a data set will have like an accompanying description or name, right? But maybe that's like a
can you elaborate a little?
So instead of having like I guess instead of having like this is like a species filter, which will only apply to like some data sets but not other data sets, instead allow people to like search through data set names or descriptions for things like dolphin or sludge worm or something like that, instead of adding a filter for it.
Well, it seems like really with the way I'm understanding, and Julie, if you're thinking something different, correct me, but like this could be something that happens later on down the road if you have already pulled out the location and like the substrate ecosystem. You could then map the organism with those same things on top of it later, right? Or would we need to record something else like right off the bat to be able to do that?
You could, like, I guess you could sort of use this first to map the trash and then use another segue dashboard to overlay with the species. But it'd be cool if you could kind of overlay the maps and then pull data on species abundance, which I actually have dashboards on that. I'll try to look for them while we're in these meetings and then flow to you guys. But then extract the data from both sets. And I know correlation doesn't mean causation, right? Number one rule. But the students can kind of just look at patterns and processes from pulling data based on the GPS ranges where they overlay.
I'd like to add on that overlay that perhaps as we're talking about specific like ecosystems that are protected, that maybe we could even add that filter or notation that these are protected species and these regions are protected. And even with protection, we're still having all these issues that could, you know, bring educational awareness on how we can make changes.
Wow, you're getting into like the Endangered Species Act, which is like pretty cool because I feel like it could have so many like then this dashboard can almost go into like regulatory decisions, which is like crazy.
There we go.
But yeah, definitely. I think that's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, the EPA I think has a interactive map on protected species or species of concern or what have you.
Yeah, what about the Cal Enviro screen? It's a environmental justice data set.
I'm unfamiliar. I'll look into that.
It's super cool. I use that actually for my students' final essay. They have to map their locality and then look at all these different questions. So that's a good map.
You know, UCLA did this really cool map called the $1 Million Hoods. Maybe we could do this for the environment.
Yeah, Yeah. So, okay. So one thing, I guess, taking a step back, like thinking about these ideas, I think are actually an additional concept beyond even like uh, um, finding data sets, right? Now we're talking about data visualization and interpreting data and data analysis. And it sounds like maybe there's a need and an interest for that from all these great ideas that are here. And I like that a lot. I wonder in this setup, so with the trash data treasure trove, we have this kind of like, it can serve multiple purposes too. Perhaps it's not just a place where you find data, it's also a place where you do the visualization and the nitty gritty. That, if we do that, that means that all of the data, so this is what we learned yesterday. Data cleaning is really hard. And all of the data needs to be cleaned up in a way that it can be mapped on the map. And there will need to be additional metadata fields, I think. And so we can definitely talk about that as well, like what those fields might be.
I think the key usage, because I was trying to do this with a different project, is if you can just somehow have lat and long GPS coordinates tagged to your data, then people can download it and then they can use R to wrangle it and to match it to other data sets with lat long also. And so like I feel like that's just a key component to have, is like the time, like, you know, like a time range and a lat long range in the data columns.
Right. Let me,
So,
I'm taking notes. Yeah.
So having like looked at some of these data sets, I think what it does seem like there's almost two, and maybe this is like trying to get like the treasure trove caught up with older research, and also like putting out recommendations from the treasure trove for like future research. So you could like have these really clean lat long and really clean timestamps, and like in the future, all of these like data sets can be like combined and compared. But I'm also thinking that there really is a value in like making a repository for existing data sets, no matter how messy or like how incompatible they really are to each other. And so like thinking about like, can we do both of these things, like have a space for these older or messier data sets just because it's worth collecting them and having them available, and also like having this forward thinking vision of what could be possible if we have like perfect data sets, and like can we also just like create a link between those things, or a way where whatever this first iteration looks like, it like leaves space for future beauty. And I'm thinking like maybe like the one easiest thing that we could be tackling with this first iteration is like is just like the location of it, and trying to just like a really simple tweak, well not simple, but like the one small tweak is to like try and figure out a way where data sets that are like all over the world, instead of having a centroid in the Pacific Ocean or whatever, we'll have like a centroid in every country that that data set is for, or something. Just like a really simple, if location is so central to use cases, maybe that's like the one piece that we should really be like drilling in on improving for.
Right. Yeah.
Metadata or something.
For actually cleaning up these data sets, getting them into some format, kind of like with the World Waste platform, like how it had like every individual point is there, and that can be filtered based on these kind of values here that people are interested in. Yeah, I like that. I like that idea.
Just because as I'm looking at this, I really like it. I think that if these descriptions, if like this is all it looks like, I still think it is like a really effective, almost like a sub Google for people, where if you're looking for trash data, you don't just have to like Google and search through a million results. Like here are the data sets that exist. And even though it doesn't tell me like how they all compare, and it doesn't give me like a beautiful map I can just go ahead and use for my analysis, I can like read through ideally like concise but helpful descriptions of what that data set is, and I can see like my page of 10 or 15 options, and I'm like, this is the needle in the haystack that I've been looking for. Thank you, Trash Treasure Trove.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is great. I want to show you all one other data set. So on the topic of visualization, since there were a lot of really good ideas there, there's this thing called litterbase.com or .org. I can't remember. Org. There it is. Cool. Yeah, they have a redirect. Nice. And so this might already serve some of the functions that were brought up, though not all of them. And I've asked these people for their data many times, and they will not give it to me. I don't know why, but they'll ask me to give them data, and they expect it to go their way. So you can tell I'm a little bitter.
Yeah, it's interactions between aquatic life and marine litter. Huh? Let's see here.
Right. Yeah. So, anyways, they basically have been scraping publications for data to get the like research consensus on litter, and this isn't. It's litter and microplastics. So some of this is litter, some of this is microplastics. They have a interactive web map. This isn't about finding data, although you can theoretically use this to find data. They don't have like a place you can download any of this data. And this yesterday, when I was telling you all about the database that I tried to scrape, I spent like 2 weeks trying to build a web scraper for this thing to just like grab every single little point off of here and take that data and then associate it with the lat long from down here. Yeah, it didn't work. It didn't work. It was too big of a task. And so anyways, maybe we can all write them a letter asking them to share their data. But in the meantime, we have this visualization of this data, and you can like click and it tells you some metadata on it. And what this is supposed to do, I mean, this visualization is supposed to be showing you where like places are hit the hardest. I don't think it actually does that very well because the data is not really standardized in any way. And I'm not really sure how I would interpret it, but yeah, this shows trash and other types of litter. I think there's also even like ocean plastic, all that kind of stuff. And then there's also a biological impacts. So you can see here, global map, and then they have like analysis of everything. So this will show you, these are the places where animals have been found entangled, or animals have been found that have ingested plastic or trash, where trash has been colonized by other organisms, and then other effects. They've done a lot of work here, and it's great. It's a good project, I think, and it's great that they have these kind of things. So is this kind of what people were thinking about for like in terms of the K through 12 education or even undergraduate education? Getting them to kind of dive into the trash data and think about the correlations and stuff. I mean, I guess they don't really have the like backgrounds that you're suggesting, like background of species distribution on here.
Yeah, I'd say that's more for like K through 12, less for like undergrad.
Okay. Data protection. What is that? Sorry, I shouldn't be reading this.
You're just gonna get angry. You're like, oh.
What do you mean you're protecting your data? I'm getting really big into the concept lately of data colonialism. You heard about that? Yeah, you gotta look into it. Data colonialism. It's like, it's a real thing. People are taking data and they're using it to rule other people's lives and make decisions for all of us. It's like, why have I like gotten fed ads on weight loss for the past like 2 months? Google somehow is like, tapping into my insecurities and like making them even worse.
I feel like, are you ever worried that like all your hard work in making the data public, people are gonna like monetize the data that you're trying to make public? I feel like that's like a whole other can of worms.
Well, the nice thing about it being public is that anybody can monetize it. So I'm not necessarily worried about that because it's already like there's going to be competition. So like if Google wants to take it and do something with it, well, like so can some little startup. And if the startup is like smarter than them, then they'll use it better and they can build a better product from it. So yeah, I'm not that worried about that, but it does it frustrates me that there's no funding or there's very little funding for open data, but then it's benefiting society simultaneously in so many ways. It's like, man, there should be like should be more funding for this kind of stuff. So yeah. And there's even disincentives built into academia. Sorry, we're going on like a real tangent.
Well, they're mandating that the data transparency is supposed to be, an interagency thing, I guess. So
yeah,
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
that's very complicated. It's asking a lot of the various agencies to get up to par on sharing their data, much less standardizing it all.
They have to put more money into doing things to make open data work. Otherwise, you're just asking more of people and giving them nothing. Yeah, it's a big problem for sure. Funding agencies don't want to give you money to make your data open. It's just like, what? Why not? You're asking me to make it open. It's going to take a lot of work. But anyways, sorry. Bring us back. All right. Trash Data Treasure Trove. So we only have about like 14 minutes left. I guess we could think about how this might be able to be improved a little bit more before we talk about the future framework. So after the break, we're gonna come back and talk about the future framework for trash data management. So this will be a little bit more nitty gritty, kind of like the back end of the database. What do we want to see? What are some systems that we think aren't missing or are currently missing right now? So like saving data as a backup, saving raw copy of data as a backup so that data doesn't go missing. That was like one thing that got brought up. Worrying about data cleaning. Seems like there is some need for data cleaning, but also it shouldn't be like, there's also a need to just have data that we're not going to clean up. And saving manuals. Yeah, so these are just some things we can kind of think about over the break, I guess.
It's a couple of points I wanted to make before we go to the break is, so scientifically valid sampling methods are going to be kind of an issue, if you want to use these databases for our data sets for things. And of course, standardization or interoperability with your formats, that's, that all about that. And well, there was another point I was going to make on that, but so in how you provide the database, say like an API, you're going to have to set up like a server that's where your database is going to sit, and then accessing that is going to be another technical issue. It's there's a lot to do, right?
Yeah, there definitely is a lot. There's a lot of additional work that needs to be done. And I think you've like hit on a couple of the big things, like how do we QA QC methodologies? Like how do we compare the quality of one methodology to another? I think that is a big question, but it's one that like I'm not sure that science has figured that out yet. Although there are like some papers which have kind of like scoring rubrics for microplastics. I know. I'm not sure about for trash. Do other people know? Yeah, that'd be good though. It'd be good to have a methodology for big trash, or a QA/QC methodology. I know there's yeah, some for that.
I mean, I like this idea of making a point to save the methodology if it's also available along with the data. Because if your goal with this is just to like collect all the data you can regardless of the quality, part of that I guess is like not really making a judgment on the quality. But you also don't want to like be promoting data collected with really bad science.
Right.
So if you have the methodology along with it, that's ideal because then the user can make that call. But I don't know if that will always be available, which means should you be hosting data without, if you can't report on the methods, that maybe that's a question.
It probably depends on the end user, I guess. Who is the end user? You know, because some would require less a stringent scientific standards for, say, like, I don't know, shock value or public disclosure on, hey, it's so bad, it's really bad, you know, is that a technical term? You know, that kind of thing. But I mean, if you're going to be using it to make serious decisions on policy, then you're definitely going to want to have some scientifically valid methods that acquire the data. So
yeah,
there's a
I guess
lot of work to do.
Those data sets are just kind of less valuable in general. I think the ones with poor quality, me being the trash hoarder that I am, I'm like, I want all the data. But then at the end of the day, when I need to like write a paper or something, there's just some data sets I just won't use.
Well, and I will just give like a personal example of why I think some bad quality data is still valuable is just that some of my questions, like some of my research questions that I'm really interested in is actually like, how much worse is like this given data set with their terrible methodology than like what we're finding with really good methodology. And so just like having those bad data sets to compare against is like sometimes good, because sometimes the bad data set is just like a citizen science group that isn't like super regimented and doesn't share effort or whatever. So it's all kind of, I think, like relative what like bad science actually looks like. But I think that there are like questions to be asked by comparing against some of those bad methods.
Yeah. How do you make that comparison? Like when you have, what's like an example of that? If you have like one data set, are you doing that for trash data?
Well, you know, let me just interrupt for a second. So pictures of huge piles of garbage or, you know, metric tons, or they have several truckloads of it, you know, and they pose in front of it for a picture for like a creek cleanup or, you know, local cleanups where volunteers do it. And there's not much scientific, you know, methodology going on there. They just pick it up and they put it in a pile, and then before they haul it off, they take a picture of it or they weigh it or something. And so I think there's efforts going on right now to try and make those more valid methods that still incorporate volunteer, you know, layman you know what I'm saying. But that's one example right there. Is a lot of cleanups are not very scientific, but they do have an impact emotionally on people who would look at such things, you know.
And like I'm actually looking at some like beach cleanup data because I need to know if they were even there with any bags of trash in that picture or whatever before scientists came to that same beach. So like even having that picture might be interesting to me just because like, oh, people are like out there on this beach, even though they're like not following any methodology, like maybe that is affecting like what we are finding with our controlled studies.
Yeah, you're so right. Somebody asked me that in my in my oral qualifying exam. They were like, how do you know that people aren't just coming in between your samples and cleaning the whole thing up? Like, I don't. I have no clue. Could be happening.
Yeah, so I'm not saying, well, I guess what I am saying is that it's really difficult to make the call on like what is valuable, but I do think that the more we can like collect what methodologies they are using to like get some context on that picture or that cleanup or whatever, the better. I think that like is really important, even just to highlight how not scientifically it was done.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Julie shared a dashboard with us from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. I got that up right now. Public.
What's the URL?
It's in the chat. It's the apps.wildlife.ca.gov/bios. And yeah, so it looks like you
so
can...
if you put seals, for example, in the add data, if you just type in seals up at the top, and then it will drop down, you can pull the harbor seal data set. And then, so then what it does is on that right side, you can actually get the data, download the data, get the metadata. But then on the left side, you can say go. So once you actually click it, and then you have to actually say return, like hit it and then hit return. And then you click it on the left side. Yeah, and then you'll see like a map of everything, and you can actually then just click on every little bubble and see the exact number of seals in those areas or regions. But then if you want all the data, you can go to the right and download all the data as well. So just kind of a cool, maybe like potentially the trash data set could like work in a similar manner where people can do visualization, but they could also just grab the actual raw data. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
cool. Grab the raw data and do visualization simultaneously. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you want all the data instead of just clicking the points, you can go to that right area that you originally had up, and you can just download all of it.
Okay.
I mean, I've grabbed that seal data set from a different website, so I'm assuming they're still giving that same thing. So maybe I shouldn't speak too soon, but I think it'll give you all the data points.
Yeah, cool. Well, this is this is sweet. I like the concept. It's like pretty slick dashboard and definitely has some features.
And for location, they have the options for like if somebody wants to type in a city, a county, and then I think it would also be cool if you could have like a lat area and a long area too, potentially.
Right.
I know that NOAA's marine debris tracker database would not have visualization, but they did have something very similar to this as far as the trash data goes. You know, but then again, that was all gathered by citizen scientists, you know, that, and so it is what it is, I guess. Marine debris, so what's it called? Tracker? I have to look into that again.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, we're about at time for lunch. We'll be breaking until 1 p.m. to have lunch, and then we'll just come right back here. If you need to get a hold of me for anything, I'll be staying on the Zoom, kind of bumping in and out, so you can just drop it in the chat, and we can communicate that way. Thank you all for your time. We'll when we come back, we will continue our conversations, and I'll try to restructure this a little bit so it's a little bit more guided for the after, and then we'll formulate some conclusions or key takeaways, recommendations. Thanks, everybody.
Cool. I might be a little bit late coming back if my 12:30 meeting goes late, but I'll just join in after that.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
I'll still be
Bye,
here.
guys.
Yeah, it was really cool to hear you guys talk about all that stuff.
All right. See you guys in a bit.
Yeah, see you.
See you. Hey.
I'm back.
How's your lunch? Hopefully the lights didn't go off and you had to run across town again.
No, it was all good. I was able to cook lunch for my daughter, and yeah, it's all good. I'm living the dream, man.
Great. Good.
I'm not complaining.
Me too. Yeah, we'll just wait a couple minutes to see who else jumps on. I know Lisa, other Lisa Nash had said, what are they saying? 2:30, we're gonna reconvene. Okay. Lisa Nash had said that she had something going on she might have to jump off for, so she doesn't show up in a couple minutes, then we'll probably just get going.
I'm here.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for sharing that that article. That was really interesting, Martha, about the carbon emissions from video feeds. I didn't know that. It makes a lot of sense because you have all those like servers processing the video imagery, right?
Yeah, and I do it just because so I live in a area of a lot of students and everyone who's home. So sometimes I feel like because all these kids are home checked in, that I kind of just have to be a little careful with my own internet. So I find that I freeze less if I just don't have my video on.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do that a lot too. Whenever the Zoom feed is lagging, I usually turn my video off or even call in sometimes. I think they might have joined on accident. Yeah, that's the reductions are quite large, like 90% carbon emission reduction just by turning off your video feed. Like that's pretty impressive.
I was also just looking at the value of the study too, since we're talking about good research and bad research and all of that.
Right. Yeah, I mean the impact, the application of that study is quite large, quite good, for sure. Cool. Let me pull up my Google Slides. So we have just about an hour and a half to party until we have to go back into the main group again. So we can talk about I was thinking we were kind of talking about this a little bit on the before we broke, but we could finish this up for maybe about 20 minutes or so, and then spend the last hour or so formulating our like major conclusions and recommendations together. I think that the recommendations from this go far beyond like the work that we are independently doing here. These recommendations end up getting used to make sure that we're not duplicating work in future datathons. And if anybody does end up like trying to build a trash data dashboard at a future datathon, they'll have access to these recommendations, and then they can use them to guide their work. So that's kind of how I see this, and why I think it's really important that we spend some quality time with our conclusions and recommendations, just getting all of like the major kind of bullet points fleshed out. So yeah, so the feature workflow of the trash data dashboard. So some of the major things that came up were, we already talked about this a little bit, but saving a raw copy of the data for backup, not worrying so much about data cleaning. It's more about like getting the data into a location, having metadata with it, saving manuals for the methodology and resources. Also archiving websites. I'm really interested to know what the best way to do that. I don't know if anybody knows of like website archiving tools for, no. Yeah, that would be, I should probably look it up to get a better understanding of it, because I know that like websites are always changing. And so if we can archive that information some way that'll be readable in the future, that would be good. And I kind of had the question going on in the back of my head, like, can we scrape data? Like, can we use Google APIs and stuff to find all this data, to like grab the data, find the different databases that are out there and populate the metadata?
Yes, that is possible to a certain extent.
Yeah. Okay. How would you do it?
Oh, I'm just starting to dabble in such things, but there's got to be it's a Python, so it would be we were using Beautiful Soup and Scrapey, I think. So that's just like some consumer grade product there, I think.
Yeah, I'm familiar with those libraries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use some similar like curl functions, and I think there's like a similar library to Beautiful Soup in R.
There's requests. Request would do it with the right libraries, I think.
Yeah, the challenge is with when you have like, say, I don't know, I guess with this, I was kind of thinking, can we just set up a routine that like daily looks for trash data and then populates this website with like relevant things without having any supervision? I'm just not sure if you think. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just don't really know what that workflow looks like.
I couldn't tell you exactly, but I know it's doable.
Yeah, that would be nice. And then directing. So like with OSF, it seemed like one of the big challenges with OSF was that the citations were getting populated with like our names instead of the data source. I did find this button in OSF, the customize citation feature, and that will actually fix that problem. So that's nice. We can give it the citation, but again, OSF, there's a big learning curve for that. And so I'm wondering if that really is at the end of the day, the best solution for us to use.
Yeah, it seems like if, because it seems like the UI of having like a nice filter and like a nice other kind of site that maybe like pings back to this OSF site if it's unable to redirect to a current or updating website from like the actual data set. I think that should be like maybe the focus. And so just like making all of our metadata readable by some form of code, I think should probably be like the focus, instead of making like the OSF like really reader friendly and user friendly.
Right. Yeah, I wonder if I feel like there's even better ways that we could do this besides the trash data treasure trove. I know Amazon has this service. I think it's called like S3 buckets, which are free data storage for like nonprofit open data initiatives like this. And they have like unlimited storage, and you just dump everything there, and then you pull it out using this. I feel like that might even be easier than using OSF to do all of that and having to go through like OSF's API and find everything.
That would work. It's a pay as you use service. The AWS, the one you're talking about, I think.
Yeah. Sweet. Okay. So those are kind of like the big things that I was kind of thinking about for future workflow considerations. Any other thoughts about the future workflow? Like what would have made the metadata curation easier for us? You know, what would that look like? We have a bunch of people collaborating to add metadata onto these data sets.
Maybe a questionnaire about specifics of the workflow ahead of time, so we all were on the same page, or we're all familiar with the same frustrations regarding a specific, interface, I guess. So that way we wouldn't have to go through the process of troubleshooting or experiencing the obstacles. If we're already aware of them, we could just work on the solutions, I suppose. Does that make any sense?
So you're saying like kind of a tutorial on how to use the how to input metadata?
No, I mean a tutorial, something that we're all going to talk about ahead of time, but before the hackathon, we would at least be aware of that specifics, a heads up on what we're going to talk about, so we can become familiar with it and see instead of having to go through it during the time that we spend together, we would already be on the same page and familiar with specific names. Just an idea. It just came in my head there. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess one question that I'm like thinking of is, I mean, I think this is like a really excellent project, and I would love to like leave our time together with as much momentum behind it as we can, instead of just leaving it with like no momentum and a lot of questions and plans. So I'm wondering, like, do you have in your mind like how best can we like keep a spark in it? Like, could we be doing something in our hour or whatever that would like keep you like moving forward and us able to contribute after? Or like
yeah,
if you do have these plans that like maybe there's a different place to store it, and maybe there's a different way to like best do this, is it worth our time to like just fill out some like is there still a step that needs to be done to like develop as much of the metadata as we can on the existing forms? Or is that like work that will be duplicated if a different route's chosen? Or
yeah, I mean, I don't think that it'll be duplicated, and we can definitely spend our time diving into some more of the writing up the metadata. Yeah, I like that idea to get some additional things done. Do you think so? I guess one of the main kind of challenges with the OSF was that it wasn't really user friendly for everybody. And so I'm just wondering if maybe if we are going to do that, then we have a different template. And maybe that could like, I think that building out that framework, whatever that is, if it's like a spreadsheet, a Google Doc spreadsheet, or like a CSV file or something like that, could be really useful for keeping the momentum going on this. I know there's like I said, NOAA has a volunteer who's going to be helping to input metadata on these data sets. And I like kind of just gave them, the same general guidelines as I gave everybody else to use the OSF. But now that we're kind of thinking maybe the OSF wouldn't work that well, maybe it is time to think about like pivoting to a different service. And what do y'all think?
Just to add to what you're saying and what Lisa mentioned, I'm like a real simple person. And so I always like to look at features like something similar to like if you do a setting on Google and it notifies you, for example, that your name came up somewhere. And much like in Facebook, you get notifications that someone responded. Is there any way to embed something where all of us could be, I guess, notified? So that's kind of like an alarm to each of us, like, oh, go in and look.
Yeah, I know there are notifications on OSF, but I don't know if you get them by default. I get them by default emails whenever somebody does something there. And then in Google, if we set something up in Google Docs, I know that there's that also really helps. That sends notifications whenever somebody edits anything.
Yeah, Google Docs is pretty user friendly, I think.
Cool. So yeah, I could set up a Google Doc file for the metadata input. I guess we could kind of like type up some documentation on how to use that too. That would be really useful. Like if we had documentation plus this spreadsheet. That was kind of one of the things that one of the big things I wanted to get to yesterday, but we just didn't have time. So, how would you all like to do that? Do you think we should work on that as a collaborative thing, or?
Yeah, I'm for that.
Let me see. All right, so I guess that goes in data, process data. Cool. Okay, so I'm making a data sheet, a spreadsheet that we can use. And then so metadata spreadsheet, and then like documentation. Like how to use or how to input data. Nice thing about Google is that it's all like version controlled too. So like we can see, you can like reverse things if somebody made an edit that they shouldn't have or something. Cool. So I'll share this with y'all. Let's see, change the link.
Maybe switch it from viewer to commenter or editor.
Oh, did I not?
Permissions? No.
Oh, oops. Thanks. Yeah, I'll give you editor permissions.
Cool.
Okay, and here. Here's the spreadsheet. And let's see. So the metadata that we wanted to get in here was, actually, I think I have a text file of it on my desktop. All right. Sweet. So we have a citation for the data set. Then there's an example of that. We have the bounding box. I
GPS.
guess this, yeah, I guess this could also be linked to like a Google form, you know, where you could have like another option where a Google form just inputs all of this information.
Yeah.
Do you think that's simpler, or is that like annoying?
It's not a bad idea if you're having a bunch of users, because then they're not as easily going to like adjust other entries. They're only like working on one entry at a time.
So since could somebody build a Google form that does the same thing, that's in the same format?
I could do that.
Okay. And then I don't know if somebody wants to start working on the document, then we can all kind of collaborate to get these resources into a way that be most useful.
I can try and assist with the scraper. So there's that.
Cool. Yeah. Let's do it.
Hey, I'm a little late. What I miss? Sorry.
So we're currently working on, we're trying to tackle like the fundamental problem right now, which is if we want to have a bunch of people all inputting metadata, we kind of ran into a challenge using OSF just because there's like quite a learning curve to get started there. And so we were thinking, well, we want to get like some sort of product done for today. And so we're developing little documentation on inputting metadata into this metadata spreadsheet and or a form, which Lisa Watkins is creating right now. And so currently I'm working on the metadata spreadsheet and working that out. And Lisa is working on a form. We don't have anybody, I think, working on the actual documentation of how to use these things, but
I think the form, are you thinking it will be a form, or do you think people will be inputting things into the spreadsheet directly?
I don't know. That's a good question. I was kind of thinking that maybe both could be useful. Form is definitely more controlled than the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I kind of like that. I mean, is it like a Google form?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think that was the vision, that instead of having everyone have access to the sheet, they would have access to the form and wouldn't be able to like play around with all the other entries. What do you think?
Right.
I mean, I like that. I like that too, because I mean, I don't know too much about Google Forms, but can you like enforce, like you could collect a date in a date format? And
I think same with sheets though. You could like force a column to have a certain data format, but maybe it's a little more intuitive to set up in the form. I'm not sure. But.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like that. I like the idea of the form, because then people don't have, like, no one can mess up the other stuff that's already in there.
Okay. Well, all right. So if Lisa's working on the form, I can work on the inputting metadata tutorial for that. So I guess there's we want some screenshots of the form as part of this. And I think the major steps are like grab. So some way they need to be able to have access. People need to be able to have access to which surveys have been, or which data sets have already had metadata added to them. So I guess the steps here are like check which survey sheets are still available. How are they going to do that? They'll need to look at the form responses, and there's like a link that they can look at to go to that.
And this could also be for people who are like uploading. Can people like upload their own data sets that you don't have? Or is this only for kind of like documenting the ones that already exist on the platform?
Sorry, I missed it.
Is this for documenting data sets that you already have uploaded, or is it also for if someone wanted to add a data set?
Yeah. I guess this would be for both. Yeah, this could be for people who want to add a new data set. Then I could be like, check out this form and input your metadata on here. So maybe actually we don't want them to necessarily have to look at the form responses because theirs wouldn't be on there anyways. I guess there should be a form that exists that says which data sets still need to be labeled. Maybe
one with a new arrival, or that needs to be reviewed and labeled, and then the other one has already been confirmed, so that's more static, I guess.
Okay, so look at the form which has data sets that still need to be labeled. Okay.
I have a question. So is what we're trying to do like at least be able to pull one data thing to a front end and display it
Right now?
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't think we're gonna be able to do that today.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have enough time. I think we're just spending like 20 minutes to get ourselves something done that will like not leave this project kind of like stymied with a bunch of questions, but like have like the first step done toward progressing on one of the questions, one of the challenges.
Okay.
Martha, you shared a Thriving Earth Exchange.
I'm just looking at, since we're talking about water and we're talking, about trash and like what is currently going on in certain communities where, like this sample of a little waterway near a community where they got money to clean it up. So I'm just kind of like, I'm not, I mentioned yesterday I was a fetus. I'm feeling like a zygote right now. So I don't have all of this knowledge yet, on the coding and all. I feel like you guys are moving very quickly and I can follow, but I'm just kind of like running behind you trying to catch up. And so I'm just looking at information as we're talking about what would we be dropping into this metadata. And so I'm just trying to bridge my own gap. And so so that's where I'm at. So I hope you guys don't think I'm being a lazy looky-loo. I'm just trying to see where I can fit in with you guys.
No, this is great. Yeah, the Thriving Earth Exchange is super cool. They pair community workers with scientists to do community science. I've done a project with them, and I just signed up for another one, actually, because I had so much fun my first time. So yeah, you should definitely get involved and do some community science with them.
Yeah, I think doing the form will be I think doing the form for inputting it will be like a good good first step, and then we can kind of input some of the metadata that we have so far. So I'm curious, what's the way that I can like be helpful now? Do you need help with writing the instructions, or would it be more helpful if I started pulling metadata for some of those data sets on the site?
That's a good question. Another thing you could do, so one thing that I really wanted to do is get these like conclusions and recommendations for the database, the dashboard, and the knowledge gaps like summarized from the whole meeting by like taking what's here in people's notes and also what's in my brain from remembering when I didn't take down notes, and kind of like summarizing like the key conclusion recommendations for those three things. So that way, when we move forward, when we do this next time, we'll have that to build on, and it won't just be like, 100 sticky notes and like bullet points. It'll be like, here's the like 5 takeaways or whatever of like what we need to do to improve this.
Okay.
Kind of what I was thinking, and maybe that could be something you could help with.
I can take a stab at some of those, and then maybe we can reconvene.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, thank you.
I only have comment access on the
Oh, sorry about that. One sec.
I could also try to compile those.
No, I'll give you edit access.
Great.
I think it's like auto change, so if you just click refresh, but if that doesn't work for some reason, here's the link.
Okay. I think it worked. Um,
Hey, Lisa Watkins, I just realized that one of the challenges for this, for like getting this working, is going to be to make sure that they're labeling data sets that are in the database that haven't already been labeled. So I don't know if that's like something we could build into the form. I'm not sure like how that framework would work. Like it's basically like two survey sheets like referencing each other.
Yeah, I wonder, I'll have to look at that. I don't know that I've seen like a Google form that updates based on the value on the cell or something, but I
Value of something else, yeah.
might be able to. I'll look at that.
I mean,
something like a timestamp, maybe.
I mean, like depending on how complicated you wanted to get on the back end or the database, it's like, is the Google form like going, is the what people fill out going into the Google form, is that like directly what you're going to be pulling on the front end, or could you do some kind of like processing or deduplication of, I mean, I guess that would kind of suck, because then people might do the same work over and over again. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We want this like framework, whatever it is, to be like simple to use and like automated in some way, so that I can just be like, hey, like if you want to help me, work on this metadata, just use this form, and here's the instructions for it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's too much of an ask for, the next like 40 minutes or whatever. But just a thought that I came across when I was kind of thinking through how this workflow.
I'll send what I have right now. Here is the editable form. And then here is like the fill out. Yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
Did I do that right?
I just have the editable form.
Yeah, it's like, hold on, Cornell's like Google thing makes me click a bunch of boxes.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
should be able to
UCR's
look
does
up at
that
the
too.
top.
If you click on the
So-
send button, if you click on send,
Yeah.
you don't want the editable one. You want to input stuff. Is that
Well,
right?
and you can just look at if you click the eyeball at the top from the editable.
Yeah,
redo it.
You can also click send and you can get a link to the form. If you click
Huh? Oh, sorry.
if you click send up in the corner there,
Uh-huh.
and you go to the
Oh,
link
got
thing,
it.
you can copy that link.
Got it. Thank you. Okay. Oh, cool. Okay. Oh, yeah, this is good.
The piece that I can't quite restrict yet is like the location bounding box, and well, that may be it, but I'm working on it still.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I wonder for this
I can share my form that I had built
Oh yeah.
a few years back.
Sweet. Oh, I guess you know what we could just do instead of like, we could just have people upload the file to this as like a file upload.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just like, it's just like restructuring the whole database into this form template.
Yeah.
So just add, yeah.
Yeah, and if you didn't want to like keep if you don't want to keep like the one source of truth in like a Google slide or Google whatever, you could transfer everything to like some other kind of database if you wanted to.
Right.
But
yeah, I wonder what that data looks like when it gets uploaded. Like, does it get saved as a link or something like that in Google Drive? Oh, there's a script editor in here too. Oh, that's cool. I don't even know what language this is in. It's probably in Go. Nice. Okay. Sweet. All right. So then I guess what would be good is like if I add something to this form, is it going to change it? Is it going to change your form, Lisa?
Probably.
Probably.
I actually just made you the owner of it for longevity purposes.
You made me the owner of it? Oh, thanks. Okay. All right. So cool. File upload.
Oh, actually, it won't let me because of Cornell restrictions. Well, but you're whatever.
Oh, okay. I can just copy it. On some other place. Yeah. Okay. So then if we add this maximum file size, 10 gigabytes. Oh. So they have like a data size limit, which is fine.
Do you think a lot of the data sets would be would hit that size limit?
1 gigabyte? Nah, probably not. I don't know. Let me think. No, I don't think so. I think most of them would be well below that. Okay, let me see. Going back here. All right, so new idea. We're going to make this. So upload. First step is upload your data set. That's cool. So I just tested the data upload option and it actually stores it in Google Drive. So I'm sure you could go through and scrape that pretty easy. It's like in the, when I go into the responses, it's like there as a Google Drive link.
That makes it easy there.
Yeah, I wonder what it looks like in the survey sheet or the spreadsheet. Oh yeah, it's just a Google Drive upload link. Perfect. Cool. Yeah, this would be way better. This would be a really good way to streamline the dashboard development. A lot easier than digging through NoSQL structured. Sweet.
I have a question and then like a comment. So like I was thinking about how for people like myself, you know, we like data and we like to participate in these types of events, but maybe because we don't have that coding background or the experience, if something as simple as maybe like a Slack where people could drop things in, and as people are able to navigate from that section, could that be shared or linked to this? For those people who aren't like as big as tech savvy, but they like to look up information or they like to, it's kind of trying to bridge the gap.
Right. Yes, definitely. Yeah, I think that is, I think what you're talking about could be implemented for sure. I'm wondering your thoughts actually on this form. Maybe you could test out the form and let us know if this is something you think would work for you. To be able to like let's say you had a data set, a trash related data set
Okay.
that you wanted put onto a database. If this survey sheet would if you'd be able to utilize it. Let me see. I can send you the link.
Okay.
Okay. Here's the link to the form. And basically the form, it's hopefully clear, but I'm sure there'll be some questions. Basically, you upload some data set. I mean, you can just upload, like a blank text file or whatever, and fill out the survey questions about it. You can just like input some fake information right now, but
Okay.
just like thinking about what kind of information you would put in and how you would be interpreting this form, and see if this works for you. That would be super helpful for us to make sure that this is going to be accessible.
Okay, I'm on it now.
Thank you.
Sorry, on that note, just I came in a little bit late. My other Zoom ran late. What are you guys currently up to right now?
Oh, we're hacking a couple. We're all kind of like working on our own little piece of the puzzle right now.
From yesterday?
No, from today. Well, yeah, it was a result of yesterday. Oh, I've stopped sharing my screen, so I gotta.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I mean, I can also like leave too. I don't want to interrupt, but if you're able to give me something to work on, I can help as well if you want.
Yeah, could you reshare the link to this document across the board?
Yeah. If everybody could try out this Google form and see if this, like, pretend like you are you're a person who has some data, or you're a person who wants to add metadata to a data sheet. Okay. And go onto this form and try to upload some random data set and think about how you would answer questions about it. You don't have to actually upload any real data. You can, make a like blank text file or something for now.
You just kind of like get some of the ones off the actual open science thing that you have already,
right? Yeah. So you could actually, it's a great idea.
You could like, maybe if you did one yesterday, or if even if you didn't do one yesterday, someone could try to like take those data sets and input them into
right. Yeah.
form.
Yeah, I'll share the link with you, Julie, because I don't think you have it yet.
No, I have I'm at your trash data set already. I'm downloading a file here.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So they in the wiki in this thing, there should be most of those boxes that you're going to fill out
Okay.
in the form. They should be right here or in the tags over here. If they're not, then we'll have to figure out what to do
Got
about
it.
that.
One downside I wonder about with the Google form though is that like it doesn't really allow for like on the open science framework, if the data set's updated, you can go in and update, you can upload a new
Right.
file, and there's like version control on the data.
Right.
I wonder if there's just a way to, I guess that makes it a lot more complicated for people. Maybe it's not a question right now that we have to answer, but like you did both of those together somehow.
I thought in Google that you could make it, you can like update a response. You can like have it send you an email and then you can update a response and then you can like change that.
Yeah, that's true.
And that could be like kind of close to,
Yeah.
I don't know if that whole procedure is version control.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's a good call. One issue there is it's unlike the open science framework is like then only the person who originally inputs it can update it. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the administrator can go in and update form responses or not. I'll look into that.
Yeah. I mean, that might not be super important to worry about right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a trade-off. It's a big trade-off between like making things easy to use and making them useful.
Yeah. I mean, I think what we could do right now is like the Google form is an example of like a prototype that might be easier for people to use, both like from the side of the user and from like the side of you parsing it. And it's a prototype and it doesn't have to be like perfect at the moment. We can just kind of like note what the perfect thing would kind of be like.
Right.
Oh, and Julie, I just looked at that one you're looking at, and it looks like we only got to a few yesterday to like actually track down metadata for them. So that may be one that just has like a empty wiki because we haven't actually found it yet.
Okay, so should I just fill out like, because they have the descriptive page, and I can see like the authors on the paper. Sorry, I lost the tab now. I had it on my, anyhow, I can see some stuff that's not in the wiki that's in a different section. Oh, I do see now. For some reason, when I clicked on the wiki tab, it didn't click on anything. But when I clicked on just the Ericsson 2015 Ocean Plastic, it had a wiki section. So I guess I'll just, yeah, I'll figure it out.
I could let you screen share too, and then you could show us if that's easier.
Cool. Can you see that? Okay, so I just found, because it was the first one on your site, so I just went there. And then when I go to wiki, like if I actually click wiki,
right.
Oh, sorry. Now it's working. Maybe it was just my internet, because before it just wasn't doing anything. So,
yeah. No
okay,
worries.
sorry guys. False alert. Okay, I'm gonna be entering this one into the metadata.
Sweet. I'll be right.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying another thing about like the version control of the data is that I don't know how, maybe that's not actually needed. Was that needed because you were doing things like cleaning the data instead of the original source? Yeah. So if you didn't do that, then you didn't do that for people, then you don't necessarily need version control.
Yeah, that can be like a post-processing thing that happens in a different framework.
Yeah.
Data cleaning. Yeah.
What's a bounding box? Is that geographic bounding?
Yeah, we should probably add a better description on that question and maybe even a link to that one website that I had. Let me find the link for you. It's yeah, it's just like the range of let me see, start sharing screen. It's just the range of the data set, like the geographic range. So like a box that contains all of the data is a bounding
Right.
box. And the minimum latitude, it's like minimum longitude, comma, minimum latitude, maximum longitude, comma, maximum latitude. It's formatted like this. And you can draw those bounding boxes pretty easily in this website here.
Got it.
And then if you click, I think it's like the CSV format in there. Okay, we got 30 minutes. CSV format in there will give you the right format. All right.
Yeah, then on the form, I would definitely suggest, just like you said, having a slightly different title for that part of the form. Like even just like, you could even reference this bounding box link, I guess.
Right. Have it a little more descriptive. Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, I'll be right back.
I'm still having a problem with the bounding box. When I input the long range, I'll paste it. It seems like it's in the same format, but
That's
it's
me,
not
I
letting
think.
me.
That's me
Huh?
trying to tinker with the Google expressions. Sorry.
Oh, so I'll just wait then. Just
yeah. Well, here I don't know if your form will update. I can turn it off. I don't know how to write in Google expressions or whatever.
Yeah.
Are you coding in this thing, in this like app script thing?
No, there's like a data validation thing that you can use for responses, but I don't know how to format it to match what people would copy and paste from that thing.
yeah, it looks like I'll have to just refresh maybe. Okay.
Where is this data validation thing? Let's see.
So Lisa Watkins, should I refresh my Google form then if it's still not working?
I'm not sure if it will save your responses, so you might just skip it for now and submit without it.
Oh, I see.
Sorry.
Okay. Oh wait, no, yeah, it's still not working. Okay, well, I'll just re-enter stuff, I guess.
Or you just submit it without the bounding box, and you may be able to resubmit, or we can just copy this into the CSV for now, so that it's like a complete entry after you're done with the form. Sorry,
That's okay. I already refreshed. It's fine. I was just making sure I wasn't entering it in the wrong way.
Yeah, no, sorry.
No, you're fine.
And when I know you're busy at the moment, but I took a stab at like some of the takeaways and conclusions on slide 23 and 24. I don't know if you're planning on using those for anything, but if you want to take a look at them before.
Yeah, I was thinking we come back as a group and review those together. Maybe in like at 2 minutes and 2:10.
Okay.
I'll come back and we'll discuss them.
Cool. Yeah, I didn't finish the knowledge gaps thing yet, but I thought just some feedback on what I typed so far would be cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think, Julie, what you actually figured out for us is that in some of these, when we were manually typing them into the wiki, we were putting spaces in between the max, well, each of these things, and it appears that when you direct copy it, which is what I guess you've done here from the website, there are not spaces. So probably it's best to actually enforce that. Oh, you're muted.
I said, well, I'm glad I could help.
That's exactly what we're trying to do with a form like this, I would think.
You guys, can you send the Google form again? One thought I have.
Which Google form? This one or no?
That one, yeah. So. The metadata entry form. One thing I kind of wonder about the bounding box thing is whether or not that should be maybe 4 different numerical things. You know, like upper right corner, upper left corner, lower left. If that would be too confusing for people.
It's probably, you're right that it's easier if it's separated, but also if we're pointing everyone to the same website to do it and they can just copy that string off, maybe that's good enough. I don't know. I guess that depends on who we think will be using this form and how will they be getting that information.
Right. Yeah.
What if we ask for a descriptive region bounding box? So like California, or like the city of San Diego, or the United States, something like that. And then I think that there's already a bunch of tools for drawing bounding boxes, or for like deriving bounding boxes from those descriptions in Google. So we might be able to get around that. the complications involved in that by not having people describe the bounding box. Cool. All right, we're at 2:10. Got 20 minutes left, so we should probably reconvene. And if people are kind of finishing up, feel free to continue doing your thing. And the rest of us will start discussing the conclusions.
Just real quick. So I'm in the bounding box on the Google Doc, and it won't let me if I don't have the accurate numbers, it will not let me submit. Just FYI. And so, like, it's good. I don't know if you have something I can copy and paste into there that would be acceptable. I thought I found one, and it won't accept it.
Yeah, so I'm sure that you're right. I was working on it in the background. I think probably when you loaded that form and had like a restriction on that field, I've deleted that now, but it's not on you. It was because I was tinkering in the background. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay, because I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm learning.
Awesome. Should I share the slides? Let's see. I think this is where we are. Okay. Oh, yes. Your notes are so good. These look really professional. I feel like I want to share these with people. Not like my notes. Okay. Cool. So we could start out with discussing the database recommendations.
Yeah, these are I was just writing down things from what I gathered of like our conversation and the work that we were doing this afternoon.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think the three main ones are like, we have to balance the need for like one source of truth for not like duplicating things with the fact that like these data sources often disappear.
Mm-hmm.
That's still maybe an open question of how to like do that well, but I think that's like a need that we have to think about. Then we were also thinking about how it can be updatable in a flexible and easy way. I put a note on here about like what we have a vision for the treasure trove is. Like, it seems like what we're going towards is that it's a web portal that collates trash data of all kinds and is like lets people easily search and filter it, but is also easily updatable by like researchers, undergraduates, and stuff like that. But yeah, so what I said, we have to enable easy additions of new metadata. It's used the word easy way too many times. Yeah. So this is just like, yeah, I don't know. You guys can read it and like comment on it and change it or however you want.
Sounds great. Yeah. Yeah. I think you have a gift for distilling the contents of all of the things that we said during this. So thank you. Yeah. Considering use case gives insight into metadata needs. Yep. Definitely. Are there other things that are missing from this this list of major conclusions, recommendations for the database? Yeah.
I forgot the one thing I was thinking of that you might already have is like, in addition to filtering like the geographic area that people want, or like, you know, the time or did you have a trash like because you have the ecosystem, substrate, continuing metric, time, range, location. What if people are just interested in like a specific type of trash? So you could have like a pull down with like trash category, and you could have like broad categories like plastic, metal, paper. Well, paper won't really last very long. And then within those different categories, have your different types of containers, like bottle, can, whatever. Like that way, people can like they could select even different sizes, like nanoplastic, microplastic, macroplastics, or they could just select like an all-inclusive all trash. I don't know if you already have that plan, but
we didn't have that already. I think that's that's like a really cool thing to consider, especially if you think about it as being like a repository for data about like all kinds of trash. But I would say like the list doesn't have to be like comprehensive. I added it, but this list at the moment might not be comprehensive, but more the idea is, you know, by considering like the different use cases, it may give insight into more metadata categories that you might want to include, like the one that you just brought up.
right.
Yeah, there's separate conclusions about the dashboard on the dashboard itself on
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the next slide. Right. Yeah. Okay. So, and then it sounds like the recommendations for the database are pretty clear and comprehensive. So
I guess just one other thing that I would carry over from our morning conversation is just I think that Gary brought up really good points about like the quality of the data.
Oh, right. Yep.
Just capturing methods or like capturing some essence of the quality, I think is whether that's something that is like part of the database or at least pointed to, I think it's smart.
Yeah, I thought one of the things that was really interesting from the conversation this morning was that it might not be like a thing that says like data quality, but it might be, you know, you brought up like the importance of like the methodology. Like one open question for me is like whether or not you guys would want to make a judgment about the data quality, or if you would want to do something like give the methodology and let the people who are going to use it.
That's the way to go. That's what I would do, is just let them decide whether that's useful to them or not, I guess, with a link to sampling methods or something.
Yeah.
Protocols.
I don't know how you format your text so well. I try to type in here and then it just.
I can fix the formatting if you want. Oops, that's not what I want to do.
Thanks.
I think I can fix it. What's this going on here? Okay.
Yeah, it's because my computer types there.
When did you include me on this document? Because I'm
Oh,
viewing it, but
are you not looking? Are you not able to see it?
I can see. No, I mean,
Here, I'll send you the.
all right.
There it is. Cool. Okay. This is 10 minutes left. All right. Speed round. So for the data dashboard, there's a need for visualization. We talked a lot about different visualizations that could be created. lat long coordinates of the data seems like kind of a basic first step, but also maybe additionally, there was like environmental concerns, and distribution of
like endangered species maps.
Endangered.
I would say these like could be considered for future development.
Yep.
You know, because it's probably not part of like the MVP, but maybe cool things to think about.
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah. And then so required searching and filtering features. So we kind of laid out what some of the metadata will be for this. And it sounds like we'll continue to expand that out even further through time.
Yeah, I said you can determine through user research, but really it would just be like talking to people and see what
Right.
I think it's important not to like, you know, overwhelm people with filters though too. So it's kind of about like picking the specific stuff that's most important.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't know. I think scientists and academics have like a high threshold for filters. So
yeah, we have a high threshold for putting up with all sorts of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Recommendations for continued development. So creating a prototype, dashboard, MVP with an uploading mechanism for new data and metadata.
That's the Google Forms.
Yeah. Yeah. We could even add like a link to that in here or something. Google Forms.
You guys are much faster at this than I am. I'm embarrassingly slow mumbling around documents. It takes me a long time to write stuff, to tell you the truth, but I hope I'm contributing something.
You are.
Yeah.
And I'm still stuck at the bounding box on the Google Doc.
It's all good.
Yeah, that's okay. I just finished uploading my own meta form, so I think we're all on the same page.
I think the metadata form, if we like avoided the bounding box by just having a description of the like region or something, I think that would get us most of the way there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's interesting too, because it's like, well, it depends on how hard that's going to be for you to parse and get the bounding box from and everything, because you'll still need that. But like if it's about ease of use for the people who are using the form, then
yeah, I mean, I think it is right now, just because we'll have so many different people uploading data. So in this bounding box thing, you can type in California and it just like outlines California. So they're using some API which knows how to do that.
You should look into the Google. If you don't want a bounding box, but you want like lat long, you could look into the Google Maps API, because you can like pretty much throw a bunch of stuff in there and get at least like a single coordinate out.
Yeah.
And as it is now, when it's like updated form, it just has like no formatting requirements. So like it also will just be on the back end deleting erroneous spaces or inconsistent commas or whatever, which is not good for like big stuff. But if you only have 20 data sets, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good idea. guess we add that to, did we already add that in here as an idea for the database? I think it was in the easy, flexible way. Bounding boxes by descriptive. Okay.
The great thing about like the metadata, collecting the metadata through something like a Google form or something too, is that it allows people who aren't just collaborators on that platform
Right.
to do it.
Yeah, true.
Which is nice.
True. Yeah, because I'd have to set up like anybody who wants to join, I have to set them up through the whole entire thing. Yeah, that'd be a lot. Yeah. Learning a lot today and yesterday. Thanks, everybody. Okay. Anything else we need to add for the dashboard development? Okay, we just have 3 minutes. So key knowledge gaps.
I think there are more. I think there are more.
Yeah. Trying to remember.
I wonder on the form, sorry, just to like kind of, I just thought about this on the metadata form, having a contact email for the person that submits data. That way, if you want to improve the data quality, you have a point person to reach out to.
Contact email on the form. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So I was just thinking, I saw the data quality thing and I was just like, oh, that might help.
Yeah, I feel like there were a lot more key knowledge gaps, but for some reason they're just not popping up in my head. I'm gonna look through my notes.
Yeah, I didn't get to this. I think some of them are covered in like the database and the dashboard things, because it's kind of like because we covered like what are the metadata needs and what are the visualization needs are as kind of knowledge gaps on those slides.
Yeah, I remember Martha had brought up a good point about the definition of trash and how, like, we're all assuming that like trash is defined in some way, but it's much more of a continuum, and that maybe we need to rethink how people are even going to be interacting with this tool or what they're expecting from this tool.
Maybe something that says, or that asks at the beginning, who is this for? And then you choose one of several things, and that would give you a more personalized interface. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Okay, I'm supposed to save the recording right now. How do I do that? Stop share. I think. 1 sec. Sorry. Stop.